by Náyla, Nyla's Nook Knitting Podcast. My name is Náyla, and I'm a knitter and crocheter based in northern New Jersey. I've been knitting since I was about maybe 12 years old, off and on, but very consistently for the last few years. Thank you for joining me today, and if you're new here, welcome. If you are returning knitting friend, thank you for joining me again. I hope that you enjoy what we have today. There is a lot. I'm hoping that this can be a shorter video today and that I don't go on tangents, but the amount of things that I have to show is a lot, so I don't know how that will go. First things first, I'm in a different location today. We have some family in here today, so filming in my room instead of in my knitting nook. And then also, I do have this microphone that was gifted to me by my sister, but I actually have no idea if it's working or not. I think that I should have charged it first, but I'm trying not to lose the light that we have today, so I just wanted to jump in. We do have thumbnail. It's not even a good one because it's so many. We have a lot to go through today. I tried to organize everything, but it will be what it will be. So we're starting with our first finished object today, which is the framework raglan by DearJamieDesignsCo. This was a test knit that I did for her, and it was due on October 18th. In the last video, I was this close to being finished. I just had to finish off my last sleeve. I knit this in size 2X in the Amano Chasky yarn, which I believe is a fingering weight yarn, in the color Shell. This pattern goes from a full chest measurement of 28 inches to 60 inches. That is also 71 centimeters to 152.5 centimeters. And I used a 5mm needle for this. Let's just put it on. This was my first time doing a V-neck. Let's see if this works. Just to show you. Yeah, so this was my first time doing a V-neck. This sweater is also worn with the purl side out so that you can see these really nice slip stitch details that are in the front, on the arms, as well as at the raglan increases. And then in the center, it just has these pearls. Well, on this side, they're knit stitches, but on the, basically knit the sweater inside out, so it's pearls on the stockinette side. But yeah, I really love the slip stitch detail. This yarn is very lightweight. The only thing, which is what I was kind of waffling with before, is my sleeves are too long. I've been wearing them rolled up twice, just so that I don't have to, fiddle with it so much. But I mentioned in my last podcast that with my row gauge, or with the pattern row gauge, it was a certain number, I believe 7 rows in the 4 inches or whatever. And you're supposed to do a certain number of decreases, and then I ended up adding an extra row to make the repeat even. And that extra row essentially turned out to be like maybe 2 to 3 inches longer than it should have been. So when I was waffling before about whether I should open up my last skein or unravel the first sleeve to do the remaining, it looks kind of cute, but like practically it's a little bit annoying, which is why I was wearing them rolled up. But yeah, I should have probably just unraveled the first sleeve and did the inches that I needed instead of breaking into my last skein. So I could I could go back and fix it, but I'm just not sure how feasible that is right now. I know APT Atelier Anna Passi-Trevino on YouTube. She's doing a fall fix along, something like that, where you go and you know, fix mistakes or fix things to make a project better so that you'll actually wear it. But I have been wearing this, even though I think I wore it like the day after I finished it to the city. And then with that, I don't know if it's on this side. Maybe I have to take it off. So when I wore it out that day, I did wear a backpack. And when I got home, I noticed that it was starting to pill. Just, this is like under the arm. And then there was also some marks, some pilling in the back. I don't know if you can see it. There was some pilling in the back, where the backpack had been resting, but I guess that kind of makes sense because this is cotton, a cotton wool blend, and the only other garments I have right now that are really pilling are my ones with cotton in it. But it's not too bad, and they, you know, they come off really easily. I don't have a gleaner or anything. I need to get one, but I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much, but I did notice it. And then the only other thing is that the first day that I wore it, I had jewelry on. I had rings on, and one ring in particular, it's like a snake head ring, and the tip of the snake kept getting caught on the sweater. So there's a couple of spots. Can you see that one? There are just a couple of spots where it's like, I think my ring snagged on it because it made, I don't want to say that it's a hole because none of the, like the yarn isn't torn. It's not broken, but somehow it just like, or at least it's not broken that I can see, but it just like pulled the stitch. This is hard to show. It kind of pulled the stitch out of place so that the loop is like extra long. It's not in place. I don't know how to fix that. That will be something I have to look up. Even on like the end here at the ribbing, it happened in a spot. And that could also be because that day that I wore it, I also went to a WNBA game, and so I had to like very quickly change my shirt to the Liberty, New York Liberty shirt. So when I think when I was putting it in my bag or when I was taking it off, it snagged on my ring, and so I have to figure out how to fix that. But it's not super noticeable right now, so I've worn it a couple times. I just wore this on Thanksgiving. Yeah, see, there's a little fuzz from the pilling, but it's not too bad. Overall, I'm very happy with it. It is super lightweight. I would, this is a very neutral color that I knit it in. I would love to maybe knit it in something dark. If you go to Jessie's page or the Ravelry feed, or even look it up on Instagram, all of the different tester options are really awesome, and I would love to have this in another color. I think it's a really good staple piece. Jessie May also does a great job with size inclusivity, so I will forever make her patterns. I think too, I might have mentioned before in the last video, you choose your size based on your full chest measurement, I believe, or upper, up here, not just around your bust. So it can look a little bit different depending. It can look a little bit different with the V-neck depending on your upper versus your full bust. You know, how much volume you have there. I don't have tons of volume, so I believe Jessie Maid and I made the same size, but you know, it looks different on us based on just how our body types are. But yeah, I would definitely knit that again, and I definitely recommend that pattern to you. Moving on, I had another test knit. October/November was a very busy test knit period for me. I had to finish the Jessie Made one by October 18th. Then I was also part of this Hannah hat test for Noelle Knits. Her name is Sarah. She did the Hannah hat, which is, we helped her pick the name, the testers, and it's based off of her daughter, Hannah. She also has a Hannah cardigan that's done in the same half fisherman's rib stitch. So we all thought it would be a good idea to name the pattern, this hat pattern, in line with that. She has baby sizes up to an adult large. I did the adult large, and the size range goes to fit 16 inches to 23 inches. And I think it's like about 4 to 5 inches negative ease, but it's super stretchy. I'm not going to put it on, unfortunately, because my braids are back. And I don't want to take this top knot down. But yeah, it was a super quick project. I did mine in Sorella Cashmere DK in the color Charlotte from their autumn tonals. And this project was relatively quick. I did it over the span of 8 days, October 20th to the 28th. But really, I think up until like, I had started the ribbing portion. It's knit bottom up. I'd started the ribbing portion, and I think maybe I was around there, and then we went on a trip for my sister's birthday, and we left, I think, on the 26th. And that's primarily what I was, well, I worked at it in the airport, and then I worked on it when we got to our hotel. And I also was working on my next project, and I blocked both of them in the hotel bathroom, and let it dry on the balcony. I had thought that I was going to run out of yarn, so I did order a second skein while she had the autumn tonals available, because this skein I got last year. The pattern is written for a worsted weight, but she said you could use DK as long as you met gauge, and it's meant to be kind of a one skein or less project. But while I was waiting for the second skein to arrive, we had left for the trip, and then I didn't end up needing the second skein, but I did unravel some of my swatch, so I used up everything except this remainder of my swatch. But yeah, it's a really good hat. It fits great. I think I have a picture which I'll put in. And I definitely have plans to make more of these. It's really soft, and it's my first cashmere too, which I really love it. I'll probably make another hat with the second skein of the Charlotte. But we'll see. Okay. Moving on to the next finished object, we have the City Stroll Light by Just the Worsted, also known as Lindsay Muscarella. I started this back in August 30th, but really I didn't start working on it until September 10th, and then I finished it also in the hotel for my sister's birthday trip on the 27th. I made the size 3X on a 4mm hook. Now, with the sizing of this, when I initially applied, I thought it was size inclusive, and I think that it still can be, but based on what's on the Ravelry page when I was looking today, it says it goes up from 60 centimeters to 98 centimeters, and there's meant to be 20 centimeters of positive ease. But essentially, this sweater can just be a made-to-measure pattern, I believe. And also, I don't know if you use a fingering weight, and I used Pearl Soho linen quill in the color Lemon Lime. This is all I have left, plus my swatch wherever it is. I measured it, but whatever. It's less than half, I think, of the final skein. But when I made my swatch, I was on gauge, of course, but what I've been finding lately is that when I block my finished project versus when I've blocked my swatch, the finished project always seems to have grown more. So I don't know if my final gauge is correct, but I do have, oops, dropped my pen. There is a lot of ease in it. I didn't measure to see if it's 20, but I did measure before recording to get my final bust is 98 centimeters, and that doesn't correspond with the size that I made, because the final size she has listed as 5X. That's supposed to be 98 centimeters, but I did 3X and I have 98 centimeters. So I don't know if it was just my blocking or if I was off gauge. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure on the sizing, but it is knit in panels, and then you seam the panels, then you do the collar in the round. You also knit the sleeves flat, and that is a totally made to measure part of the pattern. You measure your bicep, you measure the length from, you try on the seamed body portion, and then from where it's a drop shoulder, so from where the shoulder ends to your wrist, you measure that length, and then you make your sleeve accordingly, and you seam everything up. And so even where my drop shoulder is now, this is my elbow, it's at my elbow, but when I originally tried it on into my measurements, it was like here as opposed to here. So this definitely grew a lot. I did a reel on Instagram of me blocking it, which has been my most popular post on IG since. But yeah, I really love it. The only thing, so like I said, I blocked it in the hotel. I don't know if you can see it here, but oh, you can see right there, kind of. You see that difference in the color from my shoulder down and right here? That's because when I blocked it on the table on the balcony of the hotel room, and I had laid the body flat, but I left the sleeves, the table wasn't big enough to have the sleeves out to the side. So I had just folded them on top of the body. But I don't know, maybe because it was in the sun, it changed the color. Maybe the part that was covered by the sleeve didn't get exposed to the sun, so it stayed its original color, whereas the part that was really in the sun maybe got a little bit darker. I don't know, which I didn't even notice it until I went to take photos and do the reel. So I will be careful from now on of blocking things outdoors or in the sun, because I didn't even think that could happen. But this is really comfortable. I've worn this maybe 3 times since, just with some jeans and stuff. I really like the collar. That turned out well. It's not too high, not too itchy. This is wool and alpaca and maybe something else, spring ring weight, and it is soft, and I wouldn't say that it's itchy, but I can feel it on my body. But that doesn't irritate me as much as I thought I would. And also when I get hot, I think that I feel things more, but it doesn't bother me. But I also have, just with this tank top that I have on today, I have been wearing this tank top underneath it as well, because it is a little cropped. And so sometimes if I raise my arms or something, if I raise my arms, my belly comes out. So I think the t-shirt underneath helps. Yeah, Lindsay is a very talented crochet designer. I think she might have, I don't know if she has knit pieces too. I know she does regular crochet and then Tunisian crochet. And she also has a sweater called not I Smell Snow. I Smell Snow is one of Sorella's new Gilmore Girls colors. I think Lindsay's pattern is just the snow sweater, and that's also a sweater that looks like knit. Like this one is meant to be like a ribbed knit kind of look. But yeah, another great pattern. Okay. And then right after I finished that in the hotel room, I had to cast on the next test knit. So that's 1, 2, 3 test knits done. And then I started the 4th in that hotel room. I had done my swatch earlier in the test because I think the test period, it must have opened like the beginning of October or something. And there were so many testers by the time that I had cast on who were finished. And so I had done my swatch a little bit earlier because I have FOMO. Where's the swatch? I don't know which side is the right side. But this is Even Fall on Denali Sock by Explorer Knits and Fibers, as well as the Sonder colorway in the Mercerie base. This is all I have left from the skeins that I wound up. I do have, I think, 2 Denali sock skeins left and full skeins left and 1 Mercerie. I definitely use more Mercerie than the sock yarn, but that makes sense because the Mercerie is only 50 grams compared to the sock being 100. But the project is my Kalani blouse by Coley Nielsen of Paisley Knits. Editing Náyla here. So this lovely mic that I have been testing out actually died more than halfway through. I would say through 80% of my last recording. So I have decided to re-record some parts. I thought about doing a voiceover, but I'm not really sure if that would work, but here's trying. And hopefully we can finally get this video out because it's been a month since I originally recorded. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get better. So let's see how this goes. Hello again. So picking up right where we left off, my next project that I worked on was the Kalani blouse by Coley Nielsen of Paisley Knits. And here she is in all her glory, trying not to hit the microphone. This test knit I started in the hotel right after I finished my city stroll light. I did the size 5 using 4.5 millimeter needles. This sweater has 4 to 8 inches of positive ease with finished bust circumference of 34.25 inch to 69.5 inches. I started this project October 28th and I finished it November 14th. It was due, I believe, on the 14th, and I used Explorer Knits and Fibers Denali sock in the color Even Fall and the Mercerie silk base in the color Sonder, which I really enjoyed. This was my first time holding yarn together, like 2 different bases together. And the Mercerie is super soft and silky. I don't really have any issues wearing this. This is my second V-neck construction. The first was the framework raglan, and the texture on this is an iris moss stitch. Can you really see it? And this is also the first time that I used a variegated yarn, and I'm happy that I paired it with the Sonder Mercerie because it kind of toned it down. They do have similar colors in them. The base of the Even Fall is kind of like purpley with like blue and orange speckles. And then the Mercerie is just like a grape juice purple almost tonal. And so together they make this really great fabric. I don't want to mess up the mic again, so I'll maybe insert my previous try-on footage, but I really enjoy the fit of this. There are no decreases on the sleeve, which on me, because my bicep is quite large, on the bicep of the sweater it is like fitted. There's like no positive ease on the bicep, and then from my elbow down it kind of almost looks like a bell sleeve, which I don't think it really looks that way on other testers, but they have a different body shape than me. And I know Ari of Ari Knits, Ariel of Ari Knits, she did, I believe, some rapid decreases at her cuff. So it's kind of like a cinch cuff as opposed to the just wide straight sleeve. All the edges are finished in I-cord, which I enjoyed not having to do like ribbing once you finally reach the length of the sleeve was very nice. There's also I-cord at the neckline, which I thought was really fun. And I also really enjoy the raglan stitch on the V-neck. Hopefully you can see that, or on the back. Can you see it? It's a little challenging, but this was a great pattern to knit. It worked up really quickly in just about like 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more than 2 weeks. The pattern is not out yet. I'm not sure when it will be out. I know that Coley, she had her big New Zealand pre-order, which I did order yarn from, and now she's gearing up for her next big collection. So I don't know what the release date will be, but whenever it is released, I'll definitely share and let you guys know. I have already planned for like several more of the Kalani blouse. Almost almost every pre-order that I've ordered from since doing this pattern, I got yarn to make another one. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And I also really like this because to me it's like a size inclusive textured version of the Cumulus blouse by Petite Knit. And so since Petite Knit is not the most size inclusive, I can kind of follow this pattern to get the look that I want. So happy about that. Okay, moving on. The next thing I have, let me show you really quickly my finished pumpkins that I did for fall. These are just leftover yarn, leftover bulky weight yarn that I had. I think one of them or both of them, they might be like the Hue and Me 2 of Wands collection with Lion Brand. And I followed Handy Little Me's pumpkin pattern that Knititude, Chantal of Knititude, was posting on her stories in the fall. And basically you just kind of knit in the round, you know, a certain number of knit stitches, certain number of purl stitches. You make kind of like a mini cowl, and you sew up the bottom, stuff it, and then wrap an extra long tail around each of the purl sections to kind of form the areas of the pumpkin. And then you seam up the top. You can use, I think Handy Little Me recommended to just get like, you know, a cinnamon stick or a twig or something to make the stem. But I had leftover Hue and Me yarn in this brown colorway that I just knitted I knitted flat in stockinette and then joined the start and the end and then sewed it together to make my stems. And they turned out really well. And I'll probably do something similar next year in whatever scraps that I have. Then I have my autumn brioche cardigan. This is a pattern by, okay, I think she officially called it the brioche style fall cardigan, but on her YouTube, it's autumn brioche crochet cardigan or something. But it's by Hey Carrie on YouTube, and her name is Carrie M. Chambers. You can get the pattern for free, like I said, on her YouTube. She does a full tutorial start to finish. And she also has the written pattern on her blog. I started doing the size 3 for this, and I use a 6mm crochet hook. I don't have saved what the, let me see if it shows. Did I write it down? Oh yeah. So the bust sizes that she has, it's not really size inclusive, goes from 32 inches to 54-inch bust, and it's supposed to have 10 inches of ease. I made this basically for like a house cardigan or, you know, something that my mom, my sister, and I could wear if we needed, but I did gift it to my sister. I think the size 3 is supposed to be like an extra large, and I made this in the Lion Brand's jeans yarn in the color Top Stitch. I believe I had some leftover from, I think I had like 3 skeins left over from when I was doing, well, I bought them last year with totally other intentions, but then I ended up making the Montpellier top over the summer that I gifted to my aunt. And so I had skeins left over, and this was the exact yarn that Carrie used in her tutorial. And so when I watched the tutorial, I was like, hey, let me just start that. And then Joann's had a sale, and so I ordered more yarn to finish it. But now the cardigan is finished. Let's see if I can try it on without rustling the mic. Who knows if that was successful. So yeah, it's just a really cozy cardigan. It has a new to me stitch, which is the brioche crochet stitch, and then just the ribbed edging on the sleeves and around the collar. There are no buttons. It's an open front cardigan. The ribbing is done with the back loop only technique. And so I like this cardigan because there's no seam here, if you can see that. It's the only seams are the shoulders and the armholes. And so the way that she constructs this cardigan, you knit basically from side to side in one panel. That makes your front panel, your back panel, and then your other front panel. And so when you reach the so basically you start your front panel over here. It's kind of hard to tell because it's connected at the sleeves now, but this side, my front panel, is knit as a rectangle here. So it's a rectangle, and then you not decreases, but you pick up at a, you stop crocheting up at a certain point so that you can create an opening for your armhole, and then you do a chain to get back to your full panel length, and then you continue with the back panel, and then you do the same thing on the other side for the second panel. And then once that's done, you connect the sleeves, and then you do a separate flat panel for each of the, you connect the shoulders, and then you do a separate flat panel for each sleeve, and then you just sew the sleeve into the armhole. And so I think the last time that I had picked up this project, I had finished the entire body panels, the fronts and the back. But when I tried it on, they were kind of overlapping in a weird way, and I didn't think that it kind of matched what I remembered the video looking like. And so when I went back to the video to pick up, where I left off, and I saw that she had a note that the instructions had been updated and that she increased the width of the back panel for certain sizes or all sizes, I'm not sure. But that made more sense to me because what I had before, the back panel was not as wide as I thought it should have been, because it wasn't enough to cover the two, you couldn't lay the two front panels and everything match up into one rectangle. The two front panels were kind of leaning over each other, and it wasn't supposed to be a wrap cardigan or anything like that. So I did have to rip back, one complete side, the one front panel, and redo it, but that was fine. It didn't take too long. I joined all the panels as mentioned, and then I picked up for the collar, the neckband. And so in her video, that's one change that I made. She wrote the pattern to where you just knit the ribbing completely separate and then sew it onto the cardigan itself, but I did not want to do that. I thought that it would take longer, and I had experience with adding kind of a waistband, a ribbed waistband, when I did the crochet engagement set back in May. And so what I did was just I attached my yarn to the end of the cardigan, and then I chained a certain number of stitches to match what she specified in the pattern, and then I just did my rows back and forth and attached them into the cardigan to build my ribbing out all the way down, and that was easier to me than doing the ribbing completely separate. Sorry. But yeah, it's really soft. It's a great fit. It's oversized on my sister, who's a size medium. My mom really likes it too. I haven't seen her wear it yet, but soon after I gifted it to my sister, she wore it to work every day that week. So I take that as a good sign. Okay. Then I have, I made a lot of headbands over the holiday season. This is the only one that I have with me. And this, I think, is done in just some leftover WoolEase that I had, Lion Brand WoolEase that I had in my collection. And so this is a crochet headband. And I think it's done, I think I did this just in single crochet, and I did back loop only so that it has that ribbed effect. And so for these headbands, I basically just I crochet a long length that will be long enough to wrap around my head. And I just do enough stitches widthwise to cover my ear. And yeah, crochet until it's long enough to go around your head, and then at the ends I kind of sandwich them together. I think I did before. You kind of sandwich them together so that they're interlocked, and then you sew them up you sew up the ends this way so that when you turn it right side out, you get kind of a twist effect in the center. And so I made this one for myself, which is perfect for when I have my braids in, because typically I have my braids up in a bun, and so when I go out in the cold, I obviously can't wear a hat over my bun, so I'm still protected from the cold when I wear this. And you see kind of that twisted detail there. I did make, like, between my mom and I, we made, I think, like 12 of these for my sister's job. She works at an animal hospital, a small practice, and so we made them for her and her coworkers, all the doctors at that hospital, for the holiday season. I think they had their anniversary or something like that. So anyway, we made a bunch of those, and I also did some exactly like this, but knit and with half fisherman's rib, for my sister's friend and her goddaughter. I did those in Bernat Forever Fleece Finer, I believe in the color Cloud. I think I have pictures of them, hopefully. Here they are. And yeah, she asked for something in like a nougaty caramel color, and I did have like a bulky kind of yarn left over that I could have made them in, but the Bernat Forever Fleece Finer is like buttery soft, fleecy, and I thought it would be warmer and softer on baby girl. She's only 2. So I did make those. I believe for the 2-year-old size, I made it the length of it to wrap around her head to like 19, 20 inches. And then for the mama, I did like to 24 inches kind of. And she did like them. The only thing she asked was that next time for her, she wanted me to make it a bit wider to cover more of her head. But she said the one for her daughter was perfect. So these are always quick projects, and they make for good gifts. And you can do, like I said, you can do knit, you can do crochet. I think on my Ravelry I detailed like exactly how many stitches and stuff I did for the knit ones and half fisherman's rib. But yeah, I love these. Okay, and then let me see. The last finished object that I had, I don't have it with me anymore because it was something that I made for one of my dad's friends. She requested a scarf from me in autumn colors, fall colors, and so I chose to do the Luna Serene wrap by I Play with Fiber, and I ordered that in a kit from Lion Brand's website. Yes, so that kit was the Lion Brand Heartland yarn, and I ordered the color Yosemite. I did that on 5.5 millimeter needles. They sent 3 skeins of it, and I worked on that from November 16th to the 28th. And I don't know 100% if I met gauge for it, because in the pattern it specified like knit to a certain number of rows before you start your decrease area. Not decrease, your border stitches. But I still had like a skein and a half before I even reached that. So I don't know what happened there, but it didn't matter because the requester asked for a really long scarf. So I was like, I'm just gonna knit until I run out of yarn. And that pattern is also a half fisherman's rib on the body with a garter stitch border all around. I actually have another kit, I think that same Heartland Yosemite yarn in another color that I eventually plan to make for myself. Next, we have our whips, and it's just 2. The first one is this moss stitch crochet blanket. Let me see if I can fold it because it's pretty large. Here she is. Definitely bigger than the frame. So this width that you're seeing is it folded in half. It's basically finished. I only call it a whip because I still have some tails to weave in, and I've been trying to decide the best way to do that. I've seen some videos with like the blanket yarn where they burn the ends, like especially where they've attached like joined two yarns together, but that was like the Bernat blanket, and this is Loops and Threads chenille home yarn. I think it's either chenille home or Sweet Snuggles. They're basically the same, but they have slightly different color ranges. This is, I think, either lavender or lilac. It's very pretty. The sun is not shining, so I don't know if you're getting it in full glory, but it's a beautiful lilac-y purple. Is that better? Maybe. And it's just done in moss stitch. I don't know if my Ravelry show. Did I put this? I should probably take some pictures and put it on my Ravelry. But yeah, it's just a simple moss stitch blanket. I made one for myself. I actually have it sitting on my bed, which I will not show you because it is messy. I have one in white that I made for myself, and when my younger cousin was here a couple of months ago, she loved the blanket. Her and my other cousin, they were like fighting over it. And she's like, Náyla, can you make me one of these? I'm like, okay, sure. So for Christmas, I decided to make her very own, and my aunt told me that she would love this purple color, so that's exactly what I did. I think I used 6 skeins of it, and I would say, let's see, what would I say? So this is like, that's a foot. This is maybe 3 feet, and then doubled, so maybe 6 feet wide and like 8 feet long, the total blanket. But she's only 12 and she's not super tall, so that should be good for her to like wrap up in. So I just have to finish these ends and then send that off to her. But I was also waiting to ship it because she lives with my grandmother as well, so I was going to send all of their Christmas gifts together, and I had to make my grandmother something. So that's that. The second whip is my front porch pullover test knit for Andrea Gaughan. I'm sorry, Andrea, I don't know how to say your name. So the front porch pullover is meant to be a DK weight pattern. Andrea designed it for like a fingering and a mohair together, but you can obviously hold it with anything that you like. I am doing size E, which is the 5th size in the pattern. The pattern is meant to have 10 inches of positive ease, and it goes from 30-inch bust to 66-inch bust. The size E that I'm making corresponds to a 46-inch bust. I had the opportunity, this test knit was with sponsored yarn, in a sense, sponsored via discount. So she used Knitting for Olive Merino and soft silk mohair in her test, and I was one of the testers that was chosen to get a 25% off discount to order from Knitting for Olive yarn for the test. And so I did choose to order 3 colors because I wasn't sure. I know that I wanted kind of like a dark blue sweater, but I wasn't sure what shade of blue. I was looking at like dusty dove blue, the petroleum colors, navy, etc. And so I wanted to order for comparison, but at the same time, based on like, I spent maybe like 30 minutes to an hour going through like IG tags and project pages on Ravelry with the different blue Knitting for Olive's colorways. And so I did order, this is navy blue in both the merino and the mohair. And I ordered one of the newer colors. This is the blue whale In the Mohair, it's called Dusty Blue Whale. But I only ordered in these two, just these 4 skeins to kind of see the color. And based off my online research, I decided to go with Deep Petroleum blue in both the Merino and the Mohair. And so that's all of the colors compared. I definitely think the deep and the Petroleum blue is more green for sure. Maybe you could see it better back here. More green than the Blue Whale. I kind of like that the Blue Whale almost look heather, and then the navy blue is just very solid navy blue. I think I will at one day work with all of those colors, especially the Dusty or the Blue Whale. But I went with, I ordered the sweaters quantity in the Deep Petroleum blue. And that's part of my acquisitions as well, I guess. Here is my swatch for this. I had it pinned on my little swatch board where I normally film, so it's a little wrinkled. But I did meet Gage on the swatch, and I'll try to insert some clips from my original starting. When I originally filmed, I didn't have much done. But yeah, so this test knit was due January 7th. I'm not sure of the release date of the pattern, but we had our test group on Slack, and that was different for me. Most of the tests that not most, all of the tests that I've done so far, well, no, that's not true, because Jessie May doesn't have a test group, but the other tests that I've done so far, everybody has had an Instagram chat group, but this one was on Slack. But I really like the way that Andrea does her patterns. And I like the way that she does her tests too, because she makes a whole separate like page, or she has a link within the pattern document that has one link that you can click to get all of the like tools to help you with the pattern. So like if you need a tutorial for make one left, make one right, or tubular bind off, or whatever the case is, it's all in that one spot. And so I find that easier than like, in some pattern documents you have to flip back and forth between the instructions and to get like the tutorial or help that you need. Maybe that's something small, but I like that. Everybody in the test group was really kind and supportive and cheering each other on with their different colors. Andrea didn't really limit us on like what kind of color combo you wanted to do, if you wanted stripes, if you wanted solid, one color. There are all different versions, so definitely check that out on Ravelry and on Instagram. I think a lot of testers have posted photos already, and I think Andrea does. When we submitted our feedback, she requested pictures if you wanted to be included on her, like, I think she does a newsletter notification, and she does like a tester highlight. So I think she is a great designer. The pattern was very easy to read and get through. And yes, that's that. Okay. And so I had a couple of plans that are upcoming. I wanted to, I did previously this swatch in Drops Charisma for the, I think it's this color Light Oak in the Dad Sweater by Gently Chaotic Knits. I'm also in a group that is doing kind of like a mini knit along for the Clay Sweater by Ozetta. Yeah, the Clay Sweater by Ozetta. Everyone in the group besides me, I think, is spinning, doing a hand spun to knit the sweater, which that was started by Maya of What Maya Made on Instagram. But I don't spin, so I'm planning to just use something that I have on hand. I was thinking about, I got some yarn from Hobie, I think the Tweety yarn, I think it's called, but yeah. So the clay sweater is coming up. I also have another test knit for Tiffany Lou of Typical Bliss. She has her typical vest test that's coming out. I have a Hannah hat planned for White Elephant gift for Christmas. I have a Hannah hat planned for my sister. I actually was intending to do in this baby cat yarn. This is the worsted base, 100% superwash merino, 218 yards, 4 ply and 100 grams. The color is Water Baby that I got when she was having an, was it on October 13th or November 13th? I don't know. She had a sale that was like to honor her cat, which is fitting. I think it was her cat's birthday. So she did a quick little sale, and I picked this up thinking it would be a nice bright pop of color for like a wintry hat. I think my sister would look really good with it. And given that the Hannah hat is half fisherman's rib or fisherman's rib, I was thinking about doing like a glove to match, not a full glove, a fingerless mitt. But I don't think this will be enough yarn, so I might have to rethink that. And then I'm participating in the La Mercerie winter sock swap. And so when I get my package, I will need to make a sock. Okay. And then let's see. We also have some acquisitions. I think the easiest will be to show first. Petite Knit, she released another drop of her project bags. This time, I think she had just the 2 options. So the first option was kind of like this gingham, oh, not gingham, she calls it praline seersucker material. And so I really like the Petite Knit bags. I found that I prefer a drawstring project bag. And so these ones are smaller. So good for a quick small project. And then I also got the actual drawstring bag, which is a little bit thicker than the other one. And this one is meant to be like quilted. So I really enjoyed that. And I also got it in the other pattern that she had. This one is like a blue. It almost reminds me of like China, like fine China. And then I got the large kind of tote bag as well in the praline seersucker. And I got the blue and white in the same, this one she calls the knitter's string bag, and I think this one is the drawstring bag, but I got this type in this pattern colorway. And then I also got the praline seersucker color. She had a little like knitter's pouch where you can store your tools, and I realized that I need another little bag of tools that I can put in a project bag, because right now I'm taking the same bag of tools between project bags, and it's kind of okay because I'm pretty much a monogamous knitter where I like focus on one thing till it's done, but sometimes I do cast on like side projects, and or if I'm traveling or something, I want to have like a totally separate one, so that I don't have to always be using the same one. And then the microphone was a gift for my birthday. I also received this nice Knitter's book bag as a birthday gift. I like it because it has at the front this zip pocket, which has a zipper, and it also has places to put your hooks and needles. And then it has on the sides, both sides, these holes where you can take your yarn string out from. And there are lots of pockets on the inside. It has the backpack straps. It also has like water bottle holder on each side. And then it zips at the top. And I think that will be convenient for travel. My best friend got that for me for my birthday, so thank you to her. And then my sister got me, yes, my sister got me this beautiful project bag. Again, I like the drawstring ones, and this one has even an arm holder, which I like that because even with the petite knit ones, like if I say I go out with only this bag, I kind of have to like put my arm through the drawstrings, which some of the strings get really long, so it kind of hangs down way too far. So I like that this one has the actual arm strap so that, you know, if you want this open or if you want it cinched tight, you know, you don't have to. This is much nicer than putting your arm through drawstring holds. But this bag is from Knitter Bag. I believe they have their own website, knitterbag.com, but I sent my sister this via Etsy, and this, it's kind of like a lavender fields portrait. I don't know, which is funny because I don't even like lavender. I actually can't stand the smell of lavender. It gives me a headache, but it's pretty to look at. And this, I think, is her, is it medium or no? I think it might be the extra large or the large size. I'm not 100%, but she did, it was originally sold out when I was looking at it, but I messaged the seller and she was like, oh, I'd be happy to restock one. And so she restocked it. And then my sister, you know, purchased it whenever. But yeah, so definitely check Knitter Bag out if you're in the market for project bags. They had all kind of motifs from like sheepy things to other like flowers, you know, lots of different things. And it arrived quickly because I think I only sent the link to her maybe like a week or two before my birthday, so it came pretty quick. The next thing I bought for myself, it is the Lumos knitting light, and it has both a cool tone, a warm tone, and then it allows you to do both at the same time. And this is a, well, you could use it for anything, but it was advertised to me as a knitting light. I like that the cables, I guess you can call it, are flexible, so you can kind of position it any way that you need to focus like directly on your stitching. And especially with a project like this one where I'm using darker yarn, it can be a challenge sometimes to see your stitches, so this is helpful. I even took this with me to the movies one day. My mom and I went to see opera, and when I was working on my moss stitch blanket, there was like nobody else in our row, so I used this to be able to see better. It's really flexible, like I said, and the battery life is pretty good. I've had this now, it's been some time, at least a month, and I haven't charged it once. I don't use it every day, but yeah. Oh, and I saw this, oops, turn it on again. I saw both Hello Lavender, Reshma from Hello Lavender, and Aro from Aro Knits and Pearls. They both did like a partnership with Lumos and had like a discount code. So I saw it with Reshma first and I was like, do I really need that? And then I saw Aro with it too. I'm like, okay, I need that. And so I used Aro's discount code to purchase one. And then also it kind of goes into like the life segment, but I attended New York Sheep and Wool in September up in Dutchess County. It's also known as Rhine-beck, this festival. And so not September, October. October 21st and 22nd. I live in New Jersey, so it's like it was maybe like an hour and a half away. I originally asked my dad if maybe he would go with me, but I also wasn't sure about going because I bought a lot of yarn this year. And I didn't really know. Well, I know of people going, like people that I follow online, but no one that I've met in person. So I was nervous to kind of go, you know, without anyone. But Flock turned out so well. So, you know, I was on the fence. But then I saw Knit Not Natter, which is a yarn store in Pequannock, New Jersey, that I attended. I went to their store during New Jersey Wool Walk. I saw on Instagram that they were doing a bus trip to Rhinebeck. And so I forget how much the ticket was. I think like $115 per person. They gave you a ticket to Rhinebeck. They gave you a goodie bag, which in my goodie bag, one of the things in my goodie bag was this little mini skein from the Sheepy Shire. Look how beautiful that is. Oh, jeez. This little fall, it's like ultimate fall. Staple sock mini, fingering weight, 75/25 merino and nylon. The color Wildflower. It's so pretty. But anyway, I decided to do the bus trip. We met at a parking lot in a park in Pequannock at like 7 a.m., 6 a.m. It was early. It was still dark out. And then we all rode up to Rhinebeck. I think we got there like 9:30 or something. And it was really fun. There was a lot of people on the bus that had also, it was their first time going to Rhinebeck, and also they were by themselves. I ended up spending most of my day with a lovely lady named Rhonda. And we kind of like walked around the fair together. We saw a lot of sheep and animals together. We saw sheep get shorn. We walked through most of the merchant booths together. But then around like 11:30, we kind of got separated in one of the booths when it got so their fairgrounds, I mean, it's huge. Let me see, it's their map. Oh yeah. It's on fairgrounds, so it's almost like being at like Six Flags or something. I don't even know if that focused, but they have like in this area, they have like basically barns where merchants were set up in the barns. And then they also had some barns that were just for animals. And it did rain that weekend, so at some points, like anything that was covered shelter got a little bit crowded. And so that's when I lost track of Rhonda, but we eventually met back up at the bus when it was time to go. I think I was a little bit overwhelmed that day because there was a lot to see for sure. And I wasn't really shopping at all. I think when I actually lost track of Rhonda, I had stopped in this one booth for artisan yarns, a line from Hamden Hill alpacas. And I stopped and got this yarn. This is Kriya's Breath, a DK weight, 100% baby alpaca, 80 grams, 200 yards. And this colorway is called Indian Corn. And it's super soft and kind of drapey. And I'm not a super variegated person, but I like this colorway. It screamed kind of fall. And maybe I'll do Originally I was thinking Hannah hat, but maybe I'll do a shawl with this, because I realized, like, going into the office once a week, my office is like an icebox, and I basically have to wear my coat all day if I don't want to freeze. So I might do like a shawl that I can wrap up in, still have my hands free, do what I need to do. But yeah. And then I stopped and had lunch. And I had a delicious crab cake sandwich. It was so good. It was so good. Did have to stay and wait in line for a little bit, but that was okay. There were lines for everything, including the Brussels sprout. I think they're called Brussels sprout bros, Brussels sprout guys. I don't know, but everybody was going crazy for Brussels sprouts. I didn't get any of that, but if I go to Rhinebeck again, I will. And I will also bring cash next time, because when I asked people online, what should you do if you go to Rhinebeck, they were like, get apple cider donuts. But I didn't realize the apple cider donuts place would be cash only. Also, the line was like, out of this world long. So I skipped that. But yeah, in general, I had a good experience at Rhinebeck. And when I was getting ready to head out, there was actually not a barn, it was a building. It seems like where like it was near kind of the food court area, the food, I still don't know the word for it, but they had the food picnic area kind of thing. And then there were also these other buildings where they had like the competitions, like, speed knitting competition or whatever. And the fleece barn, which it wasn't in a barn, again, it was like a building, but where they were selling the fleeces that you could, if you want to do hand spun, you could buy a whole fleece. That was fun to walk through, but also in that area, they had a whole nother set of like marketplace vendors. And so I walked through there as well. And I saw this one company, Gaughan Organic, and I got this Mercerie yarn in the color Lichen. This is 75% Polwarth, 15% Romney, 10% Hebridean. This is from the Falkland Islands. It's a 4-ply fingering, 219 yards in 50 grams. And I got 2. I believe Gaughan Organics is based in the UK. They did charge me, like when the charge came through on my credit card, I think it was in like pounds or something, but it wasn't that expensive. I think it was like 19 pounds a skein. But yeah, I like it. I don't know what it will be yet. Again, I just have the 2 skeins, but we'll see. And then also I came across Loop Fiber Studio with they have their yin yang line. And so I actually saw this company at Flock. They were in the shop, in the La Mercerie booth at Flock. And I think if I can find it, I'll put it in. I even took like a picture of, they had swatches out. I took a picture of one that I liked and that I wanted eventually, but I bought so much stuff at Flock that I was like, no, I don't need to get like commercial yarn, too. Like I was already, I think when I saw it, it was the second day and I had already gotten so much. So, but I did take it down because I wanted to get it in the future. And so when I saw this at Rhinebeck, I was like, how can I not? And so I actually saw this I actually saw it in Only Murders in the Building. Serena Gomez, it's her character on Only Murders in the Building is a knitter, but she also just has great knitwear on the show. I doubt that all of it or any of it, I don't know if any of it is handmade, and there was already one sweater that Ariel from Ari Knits and several other knitters this year were like, oh, I have to make that sweater. I have to recreate that sweater. She had like a red circular yoke cabled kind of sweater. But there was another sweater in it. It was more casual. It was kind of like a big chunky ribbed knit sweater. And I've been thinking about, you know, if it's possible for me to recreate it. I think it was probably like bulky and this is worsted, but you know, I like the color. So anyway, I have their whole thing is the yin yang line is they do inverted colorways. So this is Damned If You Do and Damned If You Don't. And if you look closely, you can see the lighter color is the kind of like accent color here, and the darker color is the accent color here. So they're made with the same two colors, but they're inverted with which one is the primary color for each of them. So I don't know if I'll hold them together or if I will do separate projects for them. I think I bought 6 skeins in the Damned If You Do and 4 like sweater quantity in this one, t-shirt quantity in this one. But we'll see what happens with that. Okay. The other thing that I got, let's start with the thing that's not in plastic first. I have La Mercerie. They announced their winter kind of sock sets. I don't know if that's something she does every year. It made it sound like it is, but there were some that I couldn't grab, but I did grab the ones that I could. The first thing I grabbed was Witchfire Fibers, this twisted fingering mini set. This is 75-25 superwash merino and nylon, 92 yards each. I forget. Oh yeah. The color is Home for the Holidays, and it has all of these beautiful colors in it, kind of like a jeweled green, mauvey pink, peachy pink, pale pink, like sage green, and then this one has like a little bit of speckles in it. But I got 2 of these, hoping to put them in either a Stella quilt cushion or the blanket by Laura Penrose. And then I also got a sock set from Paisley Knits, and this is the Alpine Glow sock set. And it's 85-15 superwash merino and nylon. The large skein is 437 yards per 100 grams, and then 87 in the mini skein. And I really just like that lavendery color and kind of the gray accent. So hopefully this will be the year of sock knitting. The other thing that I got is I think I mentioned before I'd placed another order for the Charlotte colorway in Cashmere DK from Sorella when I thought I was running out of yarn for my Hannah hat. I also got the color Vino. These are both from her autumn tonals. And then I wanted to get her Hearthside tonals bundle, which includes both Charlotte and Vino. I think this is like pumpkin spice and then these 2 other colors, but it's just a really pretty set of tonals. I don't have plans for it yet, but we'll see. Okay, the last thing I have is a pre-order that I got from Bella Filato Studios Great Lakes collection. And so the Great Lakes collection is based off of Michigan and the lakes. And so the first thing that I got is the Lake Erie colorway in her Bella DK 75-25 superwash merino and nylon. This is 245 yards, hand-dyed in Traverse City, Michigan. And so this pretty pink variegated, it has like pinks and purples and peach. It's a little bit darker than I expected from her swatch that she posted, but I think This is not the first time that she did this collection, so she may have altered the formula for this one, but it is still very pretty. I think this will be some kind of like hat or accessory for me. And then I ordered, I really had to hold myself back with this pre-order, but I ordered the Lake Huron colorway, and this is her Bella Sock base, which is also 75-25, 463 yards. And it's a beautiful, I've kind of been into lately, like the navy blues, and this is kind of like blue-gray color. So I'm excited for that. This I'm intending to go into a pair of socks. And then I got a sweater quantity of the Lake Michigan colorway, which is again on the Bella DK base. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I bought 6 skeins of this. And this Lake Michigan colorway, it looked beautiful in her swatches. And I think she has a sweater already in this. And I got this colorway because my aunt, she was a traveling nurse for a while, and I visited her both when she was in San Francisco and when she was in Michigan, and she actually took me to Lake Michigan, and I have a really like core memory of us being in the water and like the sun kind of like glinting off the water. And so I got this as a sentimental project kind of, and I think that like I'm getting into the variegateds now, but I think this is still like neutral enough. You know, it's simple enough, neutral enough that like it won't make me feel like, hey, I'm variegated. It's just like, oh, hey, I'm chilling. I'm variegated. But anyway, happy for those. And that's everything. I think October, November was very busy for me. We did my sister's birthday. She turned 31. We went to Arizona. I mentioned that hotel earlier. With my parents, we just did a weekend. We've never been to Arizona before, and it was really fun. I definitely think we want to go back, and maybe for longer. We had kind of like a quick trip, but that was really good. My birthday was November 21st. I got my braids done, which I love. And we finally had pink this time, which I wanted last year, but we couldn't find the color, so we got blue. And then we added also this peak of like silvery color. You can see it there. I saw the Trolls movie, which was really good. They can do no wrong. I remember the first time like my like family put it on for everybody to watch. It was like a family night and put on Trolls. I'm like, I don't want to watch this stupid movie. And then the singing, the music, Trolls is my favorite. Love it. I'm also a bridesmaid in 2 weddings this year. And I was just asked to be Black Friday weekend. I was asked to be in the second wedding, and that's my friend Jamie, who is the artiste behind Dear Jamie Designs, who did my logo. She has an Etsy page. I will link that as well. I really like the way that she asked us. She gave us these bouquet of white roses and wrapped around the bouquet. You know how bouquets, like sometimes they're wrapped in like newspaper or whatever, but the newspaper was custom, and it said, will you be my bridesmaid? And it had, you know, our pictures and headlines, Savon and Jamie getting married, and, you know, do's and don'ts of being a bridesmaid. Here's the date of the wedding. And she had like, you know, a little article about why she wanted us to be her bridesmaids. It was really sweet and special. And then we also had Thanksgiving. We did at my sister's this year. Everybody made a little something, but my brother-in-law did most of the cooking. He is a fantastic chef. Loved it. And we also saw, my sisters and I saw the Beyonce film, which was legendary. We did all go to the concert in the summer, but seeing the film, the way that just like how they planned the whole concert, the whole tour, and how they planned this film, the way that the film was edited, the costuming of the show, the dancing, the music, the lights, the stage, you know, every little detail. She is such a visionary, and and seeing the behind the scenes glimpse into her life that we haven't really seen since like early 2000s was fun for me as a fan. And it was awesome to see how, you know, Beyonce is a culture, Beyonce is a community. And like even in the film, they showed kind of like moments with the audience and stuff, like before the show even started, like when people were lining up to get in, or like during her performance, they would like pan over the crowd, and like just to see the awe and the joy in people's eyes, and how she's created like a safe space for so many people. I mean, 10 out of 10, 5 stars, would see again, have seen again. I want to like own that movie like physically in my hand. I'm like, are they doing DVDs? Because I would like to have one. But yeah. And then my sisters and I, we couldn't go on my birthday. I think it like, I don't remember what happened. My sisters, I don't think, had off on my birthday, but we did end up going later to the spa. We went to, I always say Sojo, but I don't know if it's supposed to be Soho, but I think Sojo. Spa in Edgewater. And I really like that place because they have like the outdoor heated pools. They have different saunas you can relax in, and they have a really good cafeteria. So we just had a girls' day and caught up there. I've been reading per usual, and also I watched Blue-Eyed Samurai on Netflix thanks to Kate of Red Door Fiber Studios. It was amazing. It was so good. I hope that season 2 is already in the works. So definitely recommend that if you want to watch. And I've also been catching up a lot on Married to Medicine. So I'm getting back into my Bravo reality TV bag. And yeah, that's it. I think that is everything. So thank you for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed. I'm sorry for the delay. I will do better. Please like this video, comment down below any thoughts that you may have or pointers that you want to give me. Yeah, I'm definitely looking to hear back, you know, what have you been up to? What are you working on? Anything that you want to share, please definitely comment below. I did send out the giveaway prize, the flock giveaway prize, to the winner, Ajita, and we've been emailing a little bit, which has been nice to interact even more with you guys. And yes, please share this video, comment on this video, subscribe to this video, well, subscribe to my channel. Hopefully much more content to come this year. Yeah, and I'm just excited for what's next. Please remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others. You know, we really have to kind of, it's a little tough out there. So I'm always reminding myself like to not be so hard on myself, and to do the things that I enjoy and things that make me happy, and also just be nice to other people. You know, it just makes everything better. So give yourself grace and give everybody that you come in contact grace. Definitely set your boundaries, but you know, you can spread joy and love in just the smallest ways. So please do that. Have a great day, night, evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Happy knitting, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
very that ride, there's no surprise. She got tricks in the stash, backing up the cash. That's when it comes to the cash. By no means average, she's on what she's got to have it. Oh baby, you're a perfect 10. I wanna get in, now get down so I can win. I like the way you work it, no diggity. I like to bang it up. I like the way you work it, no diggity. I like to bang it up.
Ready?